This is the Lockpicker 1969, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to the next episode of Interview with a Lockpicker. Today's guest is VectorPotential. Say hi.
Hello.
So, where are you from?
I live in the Fredericksburg, Virginia area.
Okay. You've lived there your entire life, or?
Um, no, I've moved around. I was in the service for a little bit, and
Thank you for
been a
your
few different
service.
places.
Yep. Thank you for your service.
And yeah, but Virginia boy most of my life. So yeah.
Okay. So, how and when did you get into locksport then?
Um, well, when is recent? That's this past September. How is interesting. We've all watched the Lockpicking Lawyer videos on YouTube, and just been kind of a passing interest of mine. And the most interesting things were um, when I'd watch things get taken apart, so that way he could explain how they worked. And um, I never really bit the bullet in terms of trying it myself, um, and until just recently. The big hurdle in front of that is, if you go look at Tool, the open organization of lock pickers, lock sporters, I forget what the L stands for.
Yeah.
They got this cool little map that tells you about all the laws about who can have lock picks and
Yeah.
what. And Virginia is one of those funny states where, um, if you happen to be stopped and searched and you happen to have lockpicks on you, the presumption is that you're up to something nefarious, and then you have to prove your innocence.
Yep.
So it wasn't until I got a little older and wizened where I said to myself, whatever I do in my own house is my own stuff, right?
Yep.
So I don't walk around with these tools all the time. So um, I finally just bit the bullet in September. I figured it was just going to be like a little fidget thing that I'd get uninterested in, just like many other little fidgets or hobbies that I picked up over the years and
Yep.
abandoned by the wayside. Um, so I ordered the Covered Instruments F&G kit. So you get the little acrylic lock. I think it's like a 40 thousandths turner, a rake, and a short hook.
Yeah.
And the rake and short hook are like 23 thousandths or 25 thousandths or something like that. And got that figured out the acrylic lock really quickly, and then after that, I was like, okay, well, now what? So then the next day, we're out running errands for the family, and I just Walmart, Ace Hardware, swing by and pick up a couple master locks, get those home, get those open pretty quickly. Say, all right, well, what's next, right? And that's where I found the I'm a Reddit user, so you can find me on Reddit with the same name, Vector Potential. And
Yep.
I found the lockpicking subreddit. And then I learned about the LPU belt system. And my mind was blown, right? Because some people have put some serious work into that.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing that I enjoy the most about that is I was able, because as someone new into lockpicking, here I am, I have one turning tool and a short hook, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the rake's fun, but the single pin picking is a little more fun. It's like, all right, well, what do I do next? Clearly, I don't want to go out and like you know acquire something that is completely impossible and will discourage me. So
Yeah.
okay, so what's the next step up? And um, like you know, LPU locks and LPUbuilds.com, both of those sites are great in terms of
Yes.
both the pictures, the content, and you get a good, if you've done your research and you have at least read a little bit and you know what a spool pin is, because um, well, thankfully I knew a little bit about that from watching the LPL videos and talking about counter rotation, all this other stuff. So I kind of knew some of the verbiage, and then going to those websites, I say, okay, well, now I want something a little more complex. So I want to look at the yellow and the orange belt locks, etc. So um, that was my intro into locksport, was essentially just finally buying bullet, getting the FNG kit, and um, I'll one of the things that I like to point out right now is that FNG kit can actually carry you a good ways. I've
Yeah.
picked all the way up to a 98 Pro with the 40,000 tension and a short hook. So,
Mhm.
like, there, like, that's all you really need to get started. You don't need the like $300 multi-pick set to
Yeah,
pick locks.
I was gonna make a comment about the laws thing. What I mean, it's the same type of thing in a lot of places, but carrying a lock with your lock picking kit when you're traveling or whatever goes a long way to explain why you have a lock picking kit on you and you've got a lock that you're working on. So,
Yeah, and I've I've come to put some sense around that a little bit because I've been Yabo. Um, I don't know if he's done an interview with you yet.
no.
I should twist his arm if he hasn't.
Nope.
He's also in the area, and we've been trying to start a tool chapter in Fredericksburg. And that's another thing I was trying to wrap my mind around. Was like, all right, well, like, how do I explain this? Well, here I am carrying a bunch of tools, and now I have like literally like fishing tackle boxes full of locks,
Yep.
right? So, and
Yep.
these things are advertised publicly for some definition of public, like on Facebook or whatever. So I'm very clearly not wearing a black ski mask and going out at 3 o'clock in the morning. No, I'm
I,
I'm driving to a brewery at five o'clock in the afternoon.
yeah, I think it's completely ridiculous. I mean, let's get real. How many burglars pick a lock to get into a house or a building? They don't. So,
Right,
whatever.
right.
So you mentioned during the pre-interview that you had some challenges learning lockpicking. Can you explain that a little bit?
Um, yeah. Um, so one of the challenges I had was just figuring out how to gut and reassemble a lock. Right. That's one of the requirements you got to do for your green belt.
Yes.
So my lock that I was going to target for that was the ABIT 7240, and padlocks have small key pins and drivers, and the ABIS ones are even smaller. And it's an unfortunate series of events where it was almost comedy. Like, I made all the mistakes. I got the core turned 180 degrees. Like, I managed to fix that, then spin everything around, and then I had driver pins dropping into the plug, but there was no key pins in the plug. And
Oh
yeah,
no.
then there's it, the resolution with trying to figure out how to take apart this lock involved a vise, a hammer, and a punch, and some terribly destroyed springs and everything else. And the amazing thing was like, I'd taken some pictures of my progress and like, posting on the LPU Discord. And if you can't make fun of yourself,
Yep. You got to
right,
be able to laugh at
uh,
yourself.
right. But I mean, to this day, when I'm still hanging out in that Discord, and like, people that's like almost a rite of passage is taking apart your first lock and getting everything all jacked up and
Yep.
breaking some springs.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, but the good news is that gave me lots of extra parts for a 7240 to turn into my challenge lock later when I went for my blue belt.
There you
So
go.
so yeah, um, it was it is even to this day I get incredibly nervous gutting a lock, especially for challenge locks because um, like you make a
Yeah.
I mean, it's up for review right
Yep.
now, but you got to make a challenge lock to get your blue belt, and
Yep.
you put a lot of effort and thought
Yep.
into what's going into that lock
Messing
and why
someone
it
else's
hooks.
lockup is a little bit intimidating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, but
So I've resigned myself to the only challenge locks that I'll gut are like a fresh blue belt lock just to show off their pin work and everything else, and everything else I receive I just leave it together because I don't want to mess it up.
yeah. So you also mentioned though about all of the videos out there, most of the videos out there that you would watch and try to learn from are based on right-handed pickers.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I'm a lefty, and even growing up tying shoes was hard. Because if you watch a left-handed person versus a right-handed person tie their shoes, they tie their knots differently. So and we learn a lot by mimicking actions,
Yep.
and it's difficult because your hands don't work the same way. Um, I even have this similar issue with one of my other hobbies, fishing, tying just more tying knots, right? So I watch a video on how to tie a knot, and it's like, all right, well they did it this way. Now I have to completely mirror this to do it the other way with my
Uh-huh.
hands. Um, and in the lower belts, like you're picking a lot of padlocks and whatnot, and they got these cool like ergo turners and other stuff, and like I see that, I'm like, yeah, that, that doesn't work for me. Because like I have to use my right hand attention because my left hand holds my pick. So an ergo turner is completely counterproductive and completely useless. Um, so
Yep.
and I had a little bit of issues with that, especially trying to figure out the 7240, the green belt. That's where you start getting into like some slightly tighter tolerances, security pins, more pins, a slightly tighter keyway, etc. Um, so I was trying to find some guidance on how to handle that Avis keyway while being a lefty. Um, Even by that time, I already had a vice, so that was step one, was putting things in a vice because it makes it a little easier. Um, so I had made a Reddit thread, and um, it's still up. It's not pinned or sticky or anything like that, but I have now accumulated a list of all of the left-handed lock pickers with
The
YouTube channels
southpaws, yeah.
that that yeah, yeah, and it was great. And like through there, I met a bunch of other left-handed people that have also had similar problems, like Nola Southpaw. He was recently on one of your interviews,
Yep.
um, and he helped me populate my list. And now it's kind of like a mission. Anytime I see, like a new person applying for like their yellow or their orange spout, I'm taking a look at what hand they're holding the lock in. Because if they're holding in their left hand, they're right-handed. But if I see them holding a right-handed one, I send them a message, be like, "Hey, check out this list of other lefties. Let me know if you ever fire up a YouTube channel, and I'll put you on the list."
You are a
So,
locksport southpaw ambassador.
yeah, I try.
you I'm sure you do just fine. So, were you had you explained about your issues with the 7240s, but you mentioned to me about medicos as well.
Oh man, yeah, I hit a wall trying to go from blue to purple, and that was that. Getting my purple belt, that was a fun journey. So I bought some locks from Adam. So I was like, well, multi-lock pin and pin, like that's something different. Well, let me get one of those that's purple ranked. That can't be that hard, can it? Uh, that lock sat in my naughty bucket until like a week and a half ago or something. Um, and then I got that and then a Medico, and both of those locks are it's like one of those things where the theory behind it, what you need to do. It's just actually trying to execute gets incredibly frustrating. So the multi-lock went in the naughty bucket for I was clearly beyond my capabilities there. But the Medico, that just puzzled me. It's like, okay, well, I know if I tension one way, that tensions the sidebar, and then all I have to do is set rotations, and then once everything gets clicky, then I just need to lift a shear, and then we should open, right? And like the whole lock would turn to mush, and it just frustrated me so much. And it's like, how? Yeah. Then I see
Yeah.
people like, oh, medicos are easy. You just need to do the thing. I was like, well, I'm doing the thing. Why
I
isn't it
hate
opening?
I hate when people do that. I'm
And
glad it was easy for you. Great.
yeah, so what I ended up doing was just buying more medicos. It's like,
Yep.
well, because by that time, in preparation for my blue belt, I wanted to pick a 98 Pro, like, and ordered a beautiful purple one. I don't know why I have purple 3D printed stuff to hold on myself. I don't know why, but purple looks cool, and my daughter likes it. So
Okay.
got a purple 98 Pro, and I knew they were crunchy and had serrated pins and whatnot, and I had yet to experience serrated pins. So in the lead up for the 98 Pro, I had found an eBay listing of someone selling a box of key different 1100s, American Lock
Oh,
1100s. So
yep.
it's 6 different American 1100s,
Cool.
and I got them for like $5 a piece.
Wow.
So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to open all of these first to get a hang for serrated pins, and then I'll tackle the 98 Pro. So from that experience, I knew that some locks are easy and some locks are hard. And I still have like, there's a couple of those 1100s that I would have to take a whole day to relearn how to pick it. And then some of them I could probably open in a minute or two.
Okay.
So then I finally convinced myself, like, I should buy some other Medicos. So I did. And it turned out to be it was a 5 pin one that had some much nicer bitting. I have two that give me a whole lot of grief that I still have yet to open. They have some like not zero lift because I don't think that exists on a Medico, but like barely touch the pin kind of lift, and then some really high lifts right behind them. And I think that's my issue with the two
Okay.
that I have. And I've had chats with Biaxial on Discord,
Ah,
especially about the first Medico that I had. They gave
yeah.
me a lot of grief. All the key pins are serrated.
Okay.
Like it's interesting because none of the other Medico pictures I see shows a lock that has a whole bunch of it's Medico original, and all 6 key pins are serrated.
Mm.
Anyway, I definitely went off the deep end there, and also with the multi lock interactive plus that I got, that thing was a pain. I
Okay.
ended up having to buy some lower level dimple locks to teach myself how to do that
Well,
before I could get
yeah.
that one
So
open.
you were having difficulty with purple belt. So where are you at right now with your belt progression?
I'm a brown belt. So the locks I'd submitted for purple was an acid desmo, and I absolutely loved that lock. It just made so much sense to me, and I think I
Okay.
figured it out in a day. And then I got that other Medico open, and that was my purple belt submission. And then for brown, I did a gold P, and then reused my desmo.
Okay. So what are you working on now though?
Um, what I'm working on now is some challenge. Well, now I've kind of realized that um, I really have no desire to go for red or black anytime soon. I kind of like
Enjoy
enjoying
it.
where I am now.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I got right in front of me, I have one of those 6 pin Yale locks. Georgia Jim did a YouTube video of them not too long ago. It's like a Yale 500, except it has 6 pins.
Yep.
Um, so and mine, I'm really tempted to turn this into a challenge lock because it's 6 pins. They're all over milled, and mine has like 3 max lifts right in the middle of the key. So that's a lot of fun. I have a goal Z that I'm working on. Um, haven't made any progress beyond 3 pins on it. So when I get frustrated, I just go and do something different. That's how I rejected rather got the multi-lock interactive plus out of my naughty bucket. Was I got tired of the goal Z, and I was like, all right, well, let me sit down with this other thing in my naughty bucket and clear that out.
Okay. So it sounds like you've relied on the community for help and some guidance and all that. How did you actually wind up getting into the community? You mentioned that you were already kind of in Reddit, if I understood correctly.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm on Discord a lot more than I am Reddit. Reddit, I
Okay.
just kind of skim for. I wouldn't call it news, but current events
Uh huh.
or something like that to keep my fingers on the pulse of the internet. And through the lockpicking subreddit, the LPU Belts website, etc., I found the LPU Discord server. So that's kind of where I live,
Yep.
and then from there, learned about Lady Locks, found Lady Locks Discord server, and now I'm also on Tool, Unlocked, and
Hmm. Yep.
your Discord server, and Mitten
Yep.
Maid. So
Yep. Okay. So looking at your channel, um, what was the original reason for starting your YouTube channel?
Well, my channel's been around for a long time,
Yeah.
and
That's why I'm asking, what was the
yeah,
original reason for it?
the original reason was for well, I think way back when I wanted to make some comments on some other people's YouTube videos, and this was before Google and YouTube merged. Um, so I think I had like some split persona back then, and now
Okay.
they've merged into that one channel. Um, and prior to engaging in locksport, I just used it to like record some in-game footage to share with some of my computer gaming friends. Like
Okay.
and that was about it. So that was all like private videos or unlisted stuff.
Okay.
And then once I learned that I needed videos for belt submissions, like, all right, well, I already have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I'll just leave those old videos still unlisted and just rebrand and put this stuff up.
So what's the future of your channel going to be?
Um, well, one something I've been trying to tell myself I need to work on is trying to talk a little more in my videos. Um,
We all have that problem.
because
It's not
yeah,
just you.
because like I'm concentrating on what I'm doing and like
Yeah.
I'm thinking my thoughts about what I think the state of the lock is and like I don't want to duplicate no I don't want to seem like I'm duplicating LPL or some of the other big names
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff. So it's like, all right, how do I communicate what I think is going on in the lock? And I haven't figured that out. I'd like to do that a little better because I think there's a ton of lock sport content out there,
Yes.
and um, some of the some of the other folks like uh, Georgia Jim does a good job narrating, and I am missing some other names, but some folks in the community do a really good job. And if I'm like having like a sticking point with a lock, a lot of times I'll go see if they made a video on it, so I can
Yeah.
listen to them talk about it.
Yep.
Um, and I mean, it's not like a magic genie bottle that you rub and you just magically get the skill to pick the lock that you're working on. But
Yeah.
sometimes hearing someone
Yeah.
talking about what they're working through is good. Um,
It's more instructional
so
that way. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
but I also hate graphics design, so I I don't want I don't plan on doing any intro music or I don't plan on. You just mentioned instructional. I don't plan on doing any like how to content because
Okay.
I, I hate production. I would if I could find a way to just talk about my thought process and if someone found that interesting, that'd be fine with me. But if no one wants to watch it, that's also fine with me because I'm I think the comments I have right now on my homepage is like something along the lines of just dipping my toes into doing this publicly, and if someone happens to find it useful, then great. If not, it's no skin off my back.
Okay. So, a couple questions that aren't Locksport related. What do you do for a living?
I'm an electrical engineer. Um, I work in the space industry,
Oh, wow.
so I
Okay.
make I build stuff that goes into space.
Are you allowed to talk about any of that?
Not really.
Okay, that's fine. I'll leave it at that then. Um, we talked about your hobbies and interests, and quite frankly, that was probably the most fun conversation I've had in a while about you're into tabletop RPGs. Can you talk about that a bit?
Oh yeah. Um, the my intro to tabletop was back at like the beginning of middle school. I'm not gonna disclose my age or anything here, but it's been a while, a couple of decades at least, um, almost three. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, so my first introduction to tabletop RPGs was like old school Dungeons and Dragons, AD&D.
Hmm.
Um, back when I was in middle school, stayed up late with my friends on the weekends, like just surviving on Jolt Cola and pizza.
Yep.
Um, and
Jolt Cola. Oh my goodness, there's a blast from the past.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Yeah, we'd get whoever's house we were staying at. We'd twist one of the parents to take us down to the grocery store, and like this is back in the day when grocery stores had like the bulk food aisle.
Yep.
You remember that? So
Oh
you could go
yeah.
down there and get the bag, and you could load up on like all the candy or bulk chips or pretzels, and only spend
Yep.
a couple bucks. So we'd
Yep.
go down there, get a whole bunch of junk food, get a bunch of junk cola, and then we'd be set for like 2 or 3 days of non-stop Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
So over the years, just like other hobbies, like my interests have come and gone. But I've played a lot of different systems. A lot of people think tabletop RPGs are just like, oh, D&D. Well, there's a lot more to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a Friday group that I've run. We've done D&D Fifth Edition. We've done Fifth Edition Eberron,
Hmm.
Starfinder. We've done some Cipher System with Monty Cook's Numenera. We've done, let's see, we've done some Fate. Um, let's see, we did some Monster of the Week, which is a powered by the Apocalypse based system. Um, let's see, I've played Star Wars RPG. That was the FFG version. I've played in Warhammer 40K Dark Heresy games. Um, I've got a lot of seat time in various 3.5 D&D games, etc. So whole lot of tabletop. Um,
Yeah. Well, let me see how far back you go. Do you remember a game called Star Frontiers?
no,
Ah, okay. Then I guess I'm a bit older then. that that
maybe.
that and a game called Top Secret were two tabletop games that were popular back in
No.
the AD&D era. So, okay. Very cool. Um I wanted to ask you if do you have any thank yous that you'd like to give to other lock sporters out there?
Yeah. So I have a few here. First up, I'll throw up Nola Southpaw. He is, if you can catch him on some of the YouTube live streams from either like Lady Locks, Newhouse Lock and Key, Bando,
Yeah.
um, etc. He's great. Um, I encountered him after I made my Southpaw thread on Reddit because they said, "Hey, I should go on to Lady Locks Live and ask about that." And Noah Southpaw piped up, and he just started just like a fire hose of other left-handed pickers on Discord as soon as he found me on Discord. Um, and he's great. His channel has some really good content. Uh, that guy is an SFIC wizard. That's his favorite type of locks. I had one SFIC that I could not pick whatsoever, so I sent that to him with a little bit of deer jerky. I gave him a challenge that if he could open package open lock on it, I would send him 2 pounds of deer jerky. So he told me on a private message that he tried for an hour and a half, like until like his hands went numb to try to get that thing open. He eventually got it. Now he knows its secrets and he knows how to do it. He even did a YouTube short with it.
That's cool.
He's an SFIC wizard. Um, Lady Locks, her live streams are very approachable,
Yeah.
and the crew that hang out in the comment stream are
Yep.
really fun to hang out with.
Yep.
Um, so she does a tremendous job with community engagement, and
Yes,
there's
she
always some
does.
kind of like sticker pack giveaway
Yeah.
or something like that she's doing. Um,
Yeah, I think
Georgia Jim,
you came into
oh,
things a little late with Lady Locks in that she does her live streams now. Before that was picking time
yeah,
over the weekends, but that was always a lot of fun too. Definitely.
yeah, yep. And then I've got Georgia Jim. Um, he the best way I can describe it is he drops some absolute golden nuggets of information in the LPU Discord. If you can pay attention, um, um, it might not even be something that I'm working on, and I'll see someone ask a question. He'll just a couple sentences in there, and it's if if you know how to pay attention to what people are trying to tell you to do, it's very valuable information.
Yeah.
When I was approaching the 98 Pro, um, getting ready for my blue belt, I think I made an offhand comment that, just got my 98 Pro. I got through like six different American Lock 1100s, and like, I'm going to tackle that. And all he did was he just like made a comment. Yeah, I use a little more tension on the 98 Pro than I do the 1100s, and that was the key to me for getting the 98 Pro open. Was I just needed just a little more tension than I did on the 1100s.
Gotcha.
And yeah, so he's pretty. His videos are great, and he's pretty involved on the Discord. And good trove of information there. And let's see, last on my list is Loose Shirt and DIY for their work with speed picks.
Okay.
Um, as part of the LPU Locks website is the speed pick records, and I
Yeah.
found out about that through Barbecue Eddie. My first open of the Desmo was the same day that Eddie posted. I think it was like I forget the original time, but my first Desmo open was 2 seconds faster than what Eddie had just claimed a speed pick record for. So I think he had like posted it in one of the your video channels inside of one of the discords. I'm like, huh, I just opened that and I did that 2 seconds faster. So he's like, oh, you should post that too. So Barbecue Eddie and I have been going back and forth a little bit with the Desmo speed pick record. And through that, I found the unlocked Discord server. Loose Shirt loves challenge locks, and DIYDM is a pretty cool person as well. So
Cool.
that's the end. That's the end of my list.
All
I'm
right.
sure there's other people that I'm forgetting, but those
No.
are the names that stick out to me.
So, okay. Well, then, last question before we wrap up. What's your favorite thing about Locksport?
So my favorite thing about Locksport is, unlike some other communities, it's pretty welcoming and doesn't seem to have much gatekeeping,
Yeah.
at least in the experience that I've had. And everyone seems to be very supportive of other people's journeys and
Yes.
happy to share their knowledge, because everyone approaches it a little different. And I've really enjoyed absorbing some of this knowledge and benefit a lot from it. And I'm hoping that maybe I'll be able to give back some, but we'll see.
Okay. Awesome. Do you have a final message you'd like to give to our audience?
Oh, sure. Um, Locksport takes some hard work. Not everything is a quick open like we all like to post in our YouTube channels, and that's okay. It really is. And the belt system is great because it describes a good progression of skill, but it's also not a race. Um, take the time to smell the roses, enjoy the journey. There's a tons of interesting things to learn along the way, and that's about all I got.
I guess I can add to that and say, not not everybody that makes it look easy had didn't have a journey that got to them being able to make it look easy, and it probably took a lot of practice for them to make it look easy in a video. So lots
Right.
of tries and takes.
Right.
So all right. I want to thank you. This has been a fun interview. I've really had fun talking with you, and especially all the tabletop stuff. I felt completely geeked out talking through all of that. So I appreciate that. Thank you for that. Definitely
Yeah.
a blast into my past. So, okay. So with that, I guess what I'll say is what I try to wrap up and say every time is if you have not been interviewed yet, why not? Um, we all would like to get to know all the other lock sporters out there. And if you haven't done an interview yet, come talk to me. Let's get something set up. So with that, I'm going to wrap this one up. If you are a subscriber, thank you. If you are not yet a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications and all, and hit like on the video. And thanks for listening.